Mr. Stanielewski. First of all, Joe, congratulations. I think it's a wonderful achievement. Great book. First of all, the thing that struck me as a father of a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old, but particularly a 13-year-old boy, is to try and imagine my son going through what Joe went through. And I just can't. It's impossible for me to comprehend what he went through and survived. So it was very moving for me to experience that as a father. So that's one of the first things. The second thing that I thought was revealing to me was when he first jumped from the train, and it's dark, and he's stumbling around in the countryside, and the first person that he comes across is helpful, is nice. A Polish farmer says, "What are you doing?" and offers him food. So I just thought that that was also a remarkable experience, where you were thinking the first person I'm going to see is probably going to drag me back to where I was. No, it was a warm, somewhat brusque, but at least a warm face and offering food. So that was also for me quite a revelation. And then finally, the most astounding part of his experience was when Father Falkowski said, "We are going to send you into the lion's den." So, and the title of that chapter is The Lion's Den. So can anyone imagine where this young boy was going to be sent by this Polish priest? Where was he going to send him to hide him? He was going to send him away from this warm environment in Poland that he had somehow constructed to protect him. Where was he going to send him? Can anyone guess?
To Germany.
To Germany. Which was just something that I did not expect. And sure enough, under the radar, so to speak, he managed to survive for, how long was it? 2 years? 1 year? I think it was just
Year and a half.
Year and a half. In the lion's den.
In the 1960s, my savior, Father Falkowski, ran afoul of his Catholic bureaucracy. About the time the Pope issued an encyclica saying that it's okay to say Mass in the native language. My priest took it to heart, feeling that under the communists, who were stealing souls, so to speak, parishioners didn't understand Latin. Latin wasn't told anymore, taught. And he started saying Mass in Polish, to which the entrenched bureaucracy, the bishop, said, "Well, we have said Mass for 2,000 years in Latin. Maybe the Pope did it for the benefit of the Americans. We're going to say it in Latin." And when the priest didn't consent, they took away from him the right to say Mass. At which point, he wrote to me. I was already producer, director of radio shows at the United Nations in Polish and English. And I consulted the Polish correspondent, what should I do? How could I help him? He said, go away the communist authorities, they wouldn't. We agreed that I ought to write to the Primate of Poland, Cardinal Wyszyński, a heroic figure. I did so and said, after this priest risked his life to save his neighbor, including several others that I knew of, how can you take away the right from him to serve God? A few weeks elapsed, I got a letter from the Cardinal, the Primate, on scarlet stationery, which I have to this day, saying, on examination of the issue, Father Warkowski is restored to his duties in the parish. He wrote me a letter saying, you have saved my spiritual life. I felt so that in a tiny bit I was able to repay him. Because when I once asked him during the war, Father, you risked your life for me, how could I repay you? He said, don't, because you couldn't. Pass it along to others. So I tried my best, though I didn't always succeed. Thank you.
My name is Thomas McCarty, and I'm a friend of Joe's. I just had some notes. I just had a couple of things that I enjoyed so much Joe's occasional lapses into his puberty-type fantasies about Marzena, the iconic Polish beauty.
Marzena.
Marzena. But what I more enjoy, your comments are always tempered by these slightly pedantic critiques, such as when you describe Marzena as a product of the numerous miscegenations between the Mongols and the Slavs. Thank you, Joe, for your lesson in eugenics. I also was, for some reason, I kept thinking about shoes after I read the book also, and how important shoes were. It seems to be very trivial on the famous road to dancing, which you described, and if you don't have shoes, you die in a few days.
In the snow.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring that up, and I just also remember the great descriptions in the book, for instance, the horseradish swallowed by the gendarme, causing his food to be splattered on the chest of a Nazi officer. There's so many great descriptions. And Joe, you help people, I know that, and people help you. Maybe that's what a life was about, a life for a life. And I think, though, that sometimes I think God should have a little bit more Rahmanis for us.
State what it is. That's in Latin misericordia, in Polish. It's miłosierdzie.
My name is John Gamarek, and I'm the chairman of the Holocaust Studies Committee of Kutrzeba Foundation. I just want to say a word or two about Joe and to thank him for the many years of cooperation we had together regarding the Holocaust. I've always appreciated Joe when he attended some of our meetings and spoke up to the truth. Again, Joe, I want to thank you publicly for the support and for the cooperation that we had with you over the number of years. Thank you, Joe.
I have not read the book, and I just found out about the book about a week ago. Joe called me by the My question is about memory. Just 2 days ago, I interviewed Thomas Bergenthal, who was a little boy from Poland, who was the youngest survivor of Auschwitz. He was liberated when he was 10. And he talks about some of the things he remembered. He's not sure that he remembered it or whether his mother had told him or others had told him. And Castle, in his book, Who Will Write Our History, talks about the difference between writing something at the moment it happens versus after it happens, in retrospect. And I'm wondering, and not having read the book, how much of it was diaries, memoirs, memories, reconstructions. Recently, I received a copy of a letter that I'd written in 1940 to a cousin in America. We just escaped from Warsaw after the bombing, after the occupation. And it is not the same as I remember and when I tell the story of what I saw. It's similar, but it has a very different texture. That's what I would like to ask you.